Okay, so right off the bat, this video asks a pretty huge question. Do you know who you really are?
Yeah, that one definitely makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It really does. We're looking at a YouTube video from the Sadghuru channel titled, Do You Know Who You Really Are? Sadghuru Answers. And that question, it just sort of hangs there.
It can feel a bit unsettling even.
Exactly. And that's kind of the point we want to explore in this deep dive, right? The video suggests that maybe feeling a bit unsettled by that question is, well, a starting point.
A key, almost, to unlocking something deeper about ourselves.
Yeah, because the core message seems to be that, maybe most of us don't actually know ourselves on a fundamental level. We just sort of go through life.
And he argues that this lack of knowing isn't just trivial. He calls it the source of the pain of ignorance.
The pain of ignorance. That's a heavy phrase.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it ties into those other big questions people ask, like, does the soul exist? Or what's life's purpose?
Right. He suggests those questions don't just pop up out of nowhere. They actually come from that deeper place of
not knowing who you are fundamentally. It's like a cry for help almost. I don't know who I am. Can somebody tell me?
not just some academic thought experiment.
Yeah.
It's deeply personal.
Exactly. And then he flips it and says, well, not knowing yourself should actually be painful.
Okay, but why doesn't it feel painful for most people then, according to him?
Well, that's the interesting bit. He argues it's because we look around and pretty much everyone else is in the same boat.
So it feels normal not to know. Like ignorance loves company.
Kind of, yeah. If everyone around you lacks deep self-knowledge, it creates this perceived normalcy. You don't feel the pain so acutely because your state is reflected everywhere.
Like that salt analogy you mentioned. If no one's tasted it, you don't know what you're missing.
Precisely. And he has this pretty direct exercise to kind of shake us out of that comfort zone.
Oh, yeah, the utter idiot exercise. It sounds harsh.
It does sound blunt, yeah. Spending 10 minutes every morning just intensely focusing on the fact that you don't know who you really are.
Wow. Okay, but the goal isn't just self-flagellation, right? It's meant to do something else.
Right. It's about generating this internal friction, maybe. This genuine yearning to find out, like admitting your loss. So you finally decide to actually look for directions, but internal.
Okay. So you create the discomfort to spark the search.
That seems to be the idea. Disrupt the status quo of just accepting not knowing.
And then the conversation moves towards the idea of the soul, but from a very practical angle.
Very practical. Almost utilitarian, you could say. He basically asks, okay, let's say you do have a soul. So what?
Yeah, like can you walk better? Or what use is it? He directly asks, what uses the soul? Do they put any kind of utility to the soul?
Mm-hmm. And also, if I tell you it is there, what does it do to you? If I tell you no, it doesn't exist, what does it do to you?
It's really focused on tangible effects, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does belief or disbelief actually change your day-to-day experience?
Exactly. He seems to argue that, for the most part, it doesn't. It just becomes, something else to talk about, maybe argue about.
So if thinking about the soul isn't the most useful path to self-knowledge, according to him, where does that leave us? He uses that analogy, right? The psychiatrist.
Ah, yes, the two psychiatrists on the beach. Kobalam Beach, specifically.
Right. And one asks the other, you seem okay. How am I?
It's such a great illustration. The absurdity, as he sees it, of being alive, existing, and yet looking outside yourself for the answer to, who am I?
It really lands. You're here, you're living, breathing. Why ask someone else who you are? He calls it ridiculous.
Yeah.
Insane, even.
And the only reason it doesn't feel totally insane, he suggests, is because so many others are doing the same thing, looking outwards.
Which brings us back to that idea of comparison. Our whole sense of self being built on how we stack up against others.
Totally. He uses the nose example, remember? Everyone has one. Imagine you didn't.
Yeah. Even if you could breathe better, apparently. Your whole reality would be shaped by that difference.
Or the opposite if you suddenly grew a horn. Initially, it's a disaster.
But if everyone else grew one too?
Then suddenly we're comparing horns, polishing them. It shows how much our self-perception is tied to the group, to the external.
Not some deep internal sense of being. It's all relative.
It's all relative. And that comparison keeps us comfortable, maybe? Stops us asking the deeper question.
But then he offers a way out, right? The path inward.
Yes, and this part feels really empowering, I think, because he basically says, understanding what's inside you, it requires nothing external.
Do you need a passport to go within? Do you need a visa to turn inward? The answer is obviously no.
It's all accessible right here, right now, which leads to that pretty stark conclusion.
That the only thing stopping you from knowing yourself is Well, you.
Only yourself, he says. Nobody else but yourself. It puts the responsibility, but also the power, right back on the individual.
Okay, but why are we the obstacle? What gets in the way? He talks about our senses, doesn't he?
Yeah, our sense perception. Because we experience the world through these limited filters, sight, sound, touch, etc., our reality inherently becomes comparative.
Like the steel rod example. That was a good one.
It really illustrates it. The same rod feels cool if your hand is warm and warm if your hand is cool.
So our senses give us relative information, not some absolute truth about the rod itself. It depends on us.
Exactly. Our experience is subjective, shaped by our own state.
So if the senses create this relative comparative reality, and that's maybe blocking true self-knowledge, how do we get past that?
Well, he hints at moving beyond those limitations, transcending sense perception.
You mentioned Shambhavi, right, as a potential practice or process for that.
Yes, as one example. Something that could lead to an experience of life that isn't just based on what you see, hear, touch, taste, smell.
And he acknowledges that our minds might freak out a bit at first.
Yeah.
Because it's so used to sensory data.
Yeah, there can be fear when encountering something totally new, something non-sensory. It's like suddenly perceiving an infrared or something, a whole new dimension of reality.
But the payoff, if you can navigate that, is huge, according to him.
A fundamental shift. Moving from that comparative existence
Where you're defined by noses and horns.
to what he calls an absolute existence, one that comes from experiencing life beyond just the senses.
And that shift, a new way of being.
Yeah.
That's what creates the right atmosphere, he says.
To know who the hell you are, his words.
Yeah, pretty direct. And the implication is, without that shift, without knowing yourself on that deeper level.
Wow. As he puts it quite bluntly, anything that you do is of no consequence.
Wow. Okay. So pulling this all together for a moment.
It seems the core thread is starting with yourself, that inner inquiry.
Right. Not getting lost in abstract questions before tackling the fundamental, who am I? And using that potential discomfort, the pain of ignorance, as fuel.
And recognizing the limits of comparison, the limits of just relying on our five senses.
And ultimately, realizing the path inward is always open. And you're the only one who can walk it. Or maybe the only one who can get in your own way.
That sums it up pretty well. It's a call for a different kind of exploration.
So for you listening, someone interested in, understanding things more deeply, this perspective, it really shifts the focus, doesn't it?
It suggests the adventure isn't just out there looking at the world. Maybe the biggest discoveries are inward.
Definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
So thinking about what Sadghuru says, maybe ask yourself, what's just one small thing you could do today? Not to feel bad, but just to acknowledge that feeling of not knowing yourself completely.
Just to acknowledge it, maybe intensify it slightly like he suggests, to see if it sparks that deeper curiosity, that yearning he talks about.
Yeah, just something to carry with you and maybe reflect on as you go about your day.